Hi, and welcome to the GenX Rewind podcast. My name is Evan.
And I'm Brady.
Hey, Brady. It is a very warm day in Arizona. It is April 10th. Now, see here where I live, I'm at a little higher elevation, so it was only 93 here today, but some places in the valley, as we call it, it was 100.
Yeah,
But that being said, I'll take that over it being 38 and cloudy
right.
in April, any day of the week,
Yeah.
right? I prefer that for sure. I don't know about you, but 30 years of having lived in Phoenix, and I prefer heat to cold.
Yeah.
Lived in the Midwest my first 27 years or so, uh, and I have not looked back.
No, no. Those winters are long and gray skies. It's
It's
painful.
depressing. Yeah,
Uh,
it's depressing. So,
yeah.
my dad used to say, this is funny, he used to say back in the day when we lived there and it was freezing cold and we were watching, like today, the Masters. I watched a little bit of the Masters from Augusta, Georgia, where it's green and warm and nice. And he'd say, why do we live where we live? And
Yeah.
it's like, uh, I'm 10. I don't know. Why do we live where, why have you chosen to live in Minnesota
Right.
when there's places like Augusta, Georgia, right? Like it just
But
one of those things.
you've lived in Florida, and I think that heat in
Yes.
summer is it's got to be even next level.
It's oppressive from the humidity standpoint. The winters are pretty nice because there's less humidity and it stays a little bit warmer than it does here in Phoenix. In the winter, it only gets cold maybe every other year for a couple of days, and it doesn't stay that way. So I like that part of it. I like the summers in Arizona, although that sounds crazy to some people. I like the summers in Arizona way better than the ones in Florida. So
Yeah.
that's just me. Hey, for informational purposes, Gen Xers like myself and like Brady are people who were born between 1965 and 1980. And we're just two normal, well, I'll put air quotes around, two normal Gen X guys who like to just talk about stuff, current events, sports, culture, and we'd love to be nostalgic and we like to view events with the Gen X sort of filter on them based on our personal experiences. Most of our conversation is just organic. We have a few little things that we do here and there. We'll get to those a little bit later on. And we're often not very PC. Is that even a word anymore? Is it now? Has it evolved into woke?
Yeah.
Right?
So,
Uh,
so
I don't know what the proper words are anymore, right? Like it's like you're not hip if you're not using the right terminology. And maybe PC is something from like 25 years ago, and now you have to say woke or progressive or something like that. We're not that.
yeah.
And if you have really tender sensitivities to things, you may not like this broadcast, but you might be emotionally moved by it, and so you might want to listen just for that standpoint. So you can make one of those. Have you noticed lots of people having mental breakdowns in their cars on their videos? It's a lot of people really close to their screens screaming about Elon Musk or about, something. Please bring back the terrorists from Venezuela. I want more rapists in my country. How can we send them away? What kind of crazy people are we? But the big news this last week was Monday night was the NCAA Final Four.
That's
Well, the final.
yeah.
And I don't know if you caught it,
Yeah.
but it was saying it was a good game is not how I would define it. I would say it was a close game,
Yeah. It was close.
right? It was competitive. It wasn't necessarily good. Both teams shot like crap, right? Like they couldn't make a basket.
Yeah.
Very low scoring, and these are two teams that can put up 90 or 100 points,
Right.
right? And then in the end, Houston had 17 seconds and could get a shot off.
Yeah. That's
Like,
embarrassing.
how do you not have a couple of go-to plays ready in that situation,
Right.
right? And they
Yeah.
didn't even get a shot off.
Yeah. That was strange. That
Very
was.
strange. And it screwed me up because so I did okay, like average in the first round and the second round with my picks. And then in the Sweet 16, I picked every game correct until the final. From the Sweet 16 on, I picked every single game correct except the final. I had Houston beating Florida and they lose by two. So I was that close to picking 15 straight games in a row. A lot of good it does me, right? It didn't do me any good. Um, Actually, my wife picked Florida to win the whole thing, so she got that right,
Huh.
right? Which it seems like she does more often than not. Like she'll get no other games right throughout the whole tournament, but she somehow manages to pick the winner. Like more often than I do. I overthink it. It was more wishful thinking on my part because I wanted a Big 12 team because I'm a Big 12 guy to
Yeah.
win over a SEC team who
Yeah.
I thought, other than their top two or three teams, they were way overranked. They
Mm,
lost half their teams in the first round. They didn't really belong there. I don't think 6 and 10 teams, I don't care what league you're in, you don't belong in a tournament like that,
right.
right?
Yeah.
It's my same feeling. We talked about it with the football too. It's like three lost teams don't deserve to be in the final 12 of college football
Yeah.
either, probably, right? It's just like whatever. But
Huh.
I didn't have any money on it. I know you probably bet a couple thousand on it, right?
Easy come. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Gotta let it ride. You got
uh,
it, right.
yeah. In all said, it wasn't a great tournament because there was a couple of upsets early, and then that was it. It was all the favorites pretty much the whole rest of the way. And you could make the argument, well, it's good basketball, and yeah, but what we've come to appreciate about the NCAA tournament is Cinderellas and upsets. That's what makes it good,
Hmm.
right? Um, I like seeing underdogs win games,
Right.
and there wasn't a lot of that. There was a few, like I said, in the first round, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It was kind of a, yeah, just kind of a meh
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Nothing
I mean,
crazy exciting.
you can't argue with how they ranked the teams. They did a really good job. The top four teams were in the final four, so they picked them correctly, right? And I think kind of everybody knew that. But that was the thing. I think the top 6, 8 teams were just on another level over most of the other teams this year. And NIL, like we talked about last week or last time, it obviously has something to do with it. I just think the mid majors aren't going to be able to put together. They'll get 1 year to make a run, and then their good players going to jump and go into the portal and go to a
Right.
better team.
Yeah. 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 That kind of ruins it. It does. It's nice when I think for recruiting, I wonder, I mean, because programs and coaches rely on recruiting, but it can't. I mean, if you only have a player that's a lights out player for 1 year and they either go to the NBA or they go to a different college, boy, that to me, that'd be hard to really invest years into recruiting,
Yeah,
when it's just for such a short period of time. And yet you need good players. So,
that's
yeah,
the job of a college coach. Is it's all about recruiting, right? Like you
yeah,
gotta get the players, and then if you do all that work and you get them, and then they bail, like I think we said last time, Indiana, every single player on the roster entered the portal, every single player.
yeah,
So they have to start completely. I mean, ugh, as a fan and as a coach, and how is that good for basketball? There's no way that's good for basketball.
no,
It
no,
might be good for those individual kids, maybe,
yeah,
but but only probably for a few, and the others will go to another mediocre team. And I mean, somebody like 10 years from now, somebody needs to do a study of like what the impact of all of it was, right? Did it help? It probably helps a few select kids, and then the rest get lost in the shuffle, and it was not to their advantage,
Yeah.
right? And the fans probably don't like it. And the problem with this is it's like free agency. There's
Mhm.
no going back. Once
Right.
you start this, you can't turn it off, right? They'll never be able to turn it off.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and hey, speaking of sports, I don't know if you saw the story about this kid that was murdered
Hmm.
at a track event. What a sad story
Did
that
see the
is.
twin brothers. Uh,
Yeah, he gets stabbed to death in the stands by another student or used to be student or whatever. And now that kid and their family, they've raised like $200,000 on a charity funding website.
yeah, I actually saw it was over 300,000, more than the
Gee.
family that from the slain boy. More money for the killer than for the victim. It's-
Alleged.
Yeah,
No, it's not alleged. He admitted it.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So
he
it's like, when do we stop saying alleged? It's like he acknowledged that he did it. Now, whatever the reasons were, when you bring a knife to a high school track meet,
well, that's the
something's not right.
who
Who
does
does that?
who puts a knife in their bag of clothes and everything. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It
It's
really,
ridiculous.
you know,
I just the idea that we were going to rally around a kid who's allegedly a murderer.
yeah,
It just like as if something justifies that, right? Like, no, it doesn't. You
well,
learn that the first day, like when you take concealed carry permit thing, you have to you can't kill somebody with impunity unless your life is actually threatened, right?
right,
And someone threatening to punch you or to hurt you or saying bad words to you does not constitute a life threat in which you can respond, right? You have to respond uh, in a reasonable amount of counter force. So if somebody punches you, can you punch them back? Yes, you can. Can you shoot them? No, you can't,
yeah,
right? It wasn't life threatening. Now, if they have a bat in their hand or a knife or some other type of weapon, then yes, you can,
yeah,
right? That's how that works. But it's like, wow, every week there is some event that is like the world's upside down, and this depicts that.
yes,
Don't you feel that way?
yes, absolutely. Just you read the story about this guy who we don't really know what was said or what if they were arguing or what, but this guy pulls a knife out, stabs him in the chest, and he dies in his twin brother's arms, and he ends up raising over 300,000 for his defense, and he's going to say that it was just defense, he was defending himself. And just the fact that to me it's the same thing with the whole free Palestine and the pro Hamas sympathizers. To me it's like when you actually learn about what happened and how many people were raped and killed and
Yeah.
just and then you still have all these people who are protesting against Israel while this is going on in free Palestine. To me, there's just such a disconnect of
Yeah,
information.
yeah, I was gonna say we live in a world where people can't even agree on the basics,
Yeah,
right? Of right and wrong or what's okay and what's not okay. And oh, it's okay to firebomb uh Teslas because I don't like the person who created the company.
Yeah.
This is the mentality, right? I think it's okay to threaten a president because I don't agree with him or I don't like him or his hair's funny,
Yeah.
right? We don't we can't even agree on the basics of stuff anymore. Nothing. Like everything is an argument. Like
Right.
everything is an argument.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think back, in the 70s and 80s and stuff, there were things to argue about, right? And it was, should we go to war with Russia? And, what should our stance be on that? And, um, there were some big issues and there was, nuclear power or not. And there were some big issues that had people, but not everything was an argument,
Right.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think generally it was agreed drugs were bad,
Yeah.
and that crime was bad and that inflation was bad. And, I saw somebody the other day. Uh, this is a funny thing too. It's like, so the tariffs went into practice and the stock market took a 1 day hit. And some guy was, like, this is the terriblest thing ever. I lost $2 million or whatever. This tells me all I need to know about that person. You didn't lose anything
Right.
unless you were an idiot and sold,
Right.
right? If you
Right.
just held it for like 2 more days, it all came back plus,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So just, I'm sorry, you're dumb if that's your position that like, oh, I lost all this money. No, you didn't. And I've heard billionaires talk about this too, right? Where they say it's just paper. It's just on paper. Like, Musk or Gates or anybody who's a multi-billionaire, it's not like they can go to the bank and withdraw a bunch of 20s,
Right.
right? Worth 200 billion. It's
Right.
all stocks and everything else. They're up 10 billion one day, they're down 10 billion the next. It doesn't matter. And in
Right.
the long run, it's not falling to zero. It's ultimately on the upslope. You
Right.
just hold it. The minute you sell it, now you've
Yeah.
lost the money. You
Or-
you like, hey, my 401k lost all this money. You're 20 years away from drawing your 401k. You haven't lost a cent,
Yeah.
right? So
You know,
stop talking about that.
in a way, it's good because then you buy more at a cheaper price, and
That's right.
it makes you more wealthy in the end.
And that's
But
what's going to happen. It's like this stuff will sort itself out. Everybody just needs to chill. Of course, the media is not going to let you. It's panic this, panic that. Doesn't matter what it is, panic something,
I,
right?
go back to what you were saying. I think, the Gen X connects in there with how we look at a situation, and you get the information and you can kind of process it and tell what's just fact and what's garbage and make an educated decision. I think now there's so much propaganda all over the place that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to believe, and you're going to have some sort of propaganda
Yeah, supporting that. Yeah.
voting supporting that. With the track, high school, that guy that got stabbed. If you really think that, well, he probably was racist, or he probably did was attacking him, and they keep that going, and you're susceptible to believing that, then you're not taking a step back and going, well, wait, just we can't have people carrying weapons in bags and whipping it out and killing people whenever they're upset, or
Yeah.
that's not a reasonable,
No, it's not reasonable. And it doesn't matter like you said, it doesn't, we've said this about so many things. And I think this is definitely, especially a Gen X principle, which is like there are things that are right and wrong. There are things that are good and bad, and there are things that are acceptable and not acceptable.
yeah,
But in today's world, it's like, no, whatever I make up in my own head and
yeah,
some talking head on TV tells me that it's okay to think that way, then that's fine, right? I'm an elephant and everyone has to believe I'm an elephant, right?
Yeah,
It's just like that's the world, the fantasy world that we live in.
yeah.
Speaking of a fantasy world, I don't know if you saw this, but Disney's latest movie tanked.
Oh yeah,
Big, gee, I wonder why, right? It's like I can't imagine why. The the star, and these are heavy air quotes here. This person is not a good actress.
yeah,
Said that, she offended like half her audience before the movie and then was a narcissist and saying people will come just to watch me whether they like it or not. It's like who's who thinks that way? Like, I mean, what this is a person who has probably never in their life ever been told no, or that they need to do better, or that they need to improve. It's just everybody props you up your whole life. And
yeah,
I think Gen Xers would say that's a summary of the world that we live in now,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah,
Nobody ever yelled at you, punished you, scolded you, nothing. Everything was just whatever you want, dear.
yeah.
And this is what you get from that. You get a world full of narcissists, right?
Absolutely. Disney, it probably cost Disney maybe 100+
Yeah, a
million
couple 100 million.
just for spouting off your political view. I mean, that I'm sure, I'm
And
sure
what's
there.
funny about it is too, it's like it started off like that. Like you already lost 50 or 60% of your potential audience just because of the personality of the person who's going to star. Not to mention all the other issues with the dwarfs and everything. I mean, it's like did you see like little people were offended that they use CGI dwarfs?
Oh, really?
How are we going to get jobs? This is how we get jobs in Hollywood. We have movies about dwarfs.
If
And
dwarf roles are all filled by
oh
CGI.
my gosh. Yeah. All
Oh,
right. Hang on one second here while I fix something. All right. So, next topic I had on here was the NFL draft is coming up,
yeah,
and a week or two from now. And speaking of narcissists, I saw that a player from Colorado was talking themselves up, and how fortunate any NFL team would be to get somebody like him who turned the program around. So,
wow.
no mention of the coach or the other players on the team, or that the turnaround was a team that's 13 and 12 in the last two seasons with him. I
Yeah,
don't know if that's a turnaround. I guess if you only won two games the year before, yeah, having a virtually a 500 record is a turnaround.
yeah,
Wow, right? It's like have a little humility, maybe.
yeah. These guys. It's I don't know if you saw the what was it? Guerrero from the Toronto Blue Jays signed a 16-year, $500 million contract with
Wow.
with the Blue Jays. I mean, it's out of control.
In the history of the Blue Jays, has the franchise made 500 million
I know
dollars? That would be the question. I'm pretty sure not,
it's
right?
cra- it's crazy. Signed him for 16 years, and you're giving him $500 million.
I think the Lakers are still paying Magic Johnson, by the way, just to remind everybody. He had a 25-year contract,
Wow, I didn't.
right? So it's like they're probably still paying him.
Yeah,
And there's players on the books for a lot of teams, right? That you sign. I think the Diamondbacks probably have like 10 guys that are still making money from like, 2008.
oh,
It's like they pay him these 20-year contracts, deferred contracts, and then, they cut him after 2 years and they still got to pay him.
yeah, yeah. It's you just see the power and all this trickling down to these young college athletes now that they just show you that narcissistic
Yeah.
temper.
You
And
get rewarded for it. That's the problem,
yeah,
right? There's a reward for it. And until there's not a reward for it, it'll just continue and get worse.
yeah,
Right. And I really don't know how that's going to resolve itself. It feels like it's going to implode at some point. The money just won't be there.
Yeah.
But, if people stop watching, I saw that the women's NCAA final viewership was down 50% from the previous year when Caitlin Clark was carrying all of women's basketball.
Huh.
And but then people were like, well, if you compare it to pre Caitlin Clark, it was actually up some. Well, what is that? Okay, but it still was, you lost half your audience because of a single player.
Right. Yeah.
So that seems like kind of a tenuous position to hold.
Yeah.
And the fact that every junior high boys basketball team could beat the champion by 50 points is, uh, you know, uh, you can argue with me on that, but I'm right. That is what would happen. You can't convince me otherwise, right? Anyway, we'll see. The Cardinals are probably making deals, trading a sack of marbles and some
Yeah.
old baseball cards
Yeah.
to trade up in the draft for somebody. Who knows? I
Yeah.
think they should go out. They should get that 450-pound player from University of Florida and just go with it, right?
Yeah. Be a
Like,
plug in the middle. Just have him
yeah,
down in the middle of take
and
everybody.
probably kill 3 or 4 slot receivers over the course of the year, right? Hey,
Yeah.
so another kind of ridiculous thing I heard this week is like, okay, so the Masters is on. Wait, when we talk about the Masters, we have to talk like this. He's got about 150 yards, slight wind to the left. Looks like he's got, I think that's a pitching wedge, Jim. There are certain words that the broadcast is allowed to use and not allowed to use. Did you know this?
No.
They can't say back nine. They have to say second nine. They can't say rough. They have to say second cut. And there was
What?
a whole bunch of other, the pretentiousness of
Oh my.
it is like off the charts. And then, so I was watching some of the first round today. I mean, come on, it's a beautiful course. Nobody disagrees. It's a beautiful course. It's a great spot, whatever. So the ads, the commercials are for the Maybach and Rolex watches. So I wonder who the audience is,
Yeah.
right? It's like a $250,000 Mercedes and a $10,000 watch. That these
Yeah.
are the ads during the, I mean, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
I was thinking of other words, right? Probably you can't, you can never say, oh, his ball is this. You always have to say golf ball, right?
Hmm.
And then I thought, they probably can't say he sliced it, the ball veered right or veered left, right? Like they're not going to let you,
Yeah.
it's like slice. That's too violent for the Masters, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be hushed tones. And,
Yeah.
they were piping in bird noises back 10, 15 years ago from birds that didn't exist in Georgia. Some fan called in.
Yeah. I
Said
remember
that bird's not native to Augusta, Georgia,
upset
and
some.
they had to admit it. Yeah, that's why they're doing that.
Yeah. No,
And I
it's
and I swear, there's just a guy holding up flowers in front of the shot, right? It's oh, look at the beautiful flowers here at Augusta, right off the ninth hole. Um, what we should do? We should do. I think it's funny that the Saturday Night Live people who did the sweaty balls and the PBS thing, they now have a commercial, right? For a credit card with the Samuel L. Jackson. And it's the same thing. It's like everything on NPR radio, right? Everyone talks really close to the microphone like this. And this is how we talk. Fun stuff. Really good. That's great. Um, hey, so Brady, you got a story because you sent me a video this week. Apparently, it was your daughters and they were on a bus and they were showing a video to a friend of our podcast.
true. Yeah. Yeah. They were showing it off, and the responses were pretty good. That's from a younger audience. So,
You
we're
know, there's there's hope for that Gen Z crowd, right? Because
There is.
their parents are Gen Xers like us, so there
Right.
might be hope.
Yeah.
Like they're at least being told that the world is full of nuts.
Yeah.
Don't be one of those. At
Right.
least they have that instruction. The problem with, I think the millennials are their parents were the idiot baby boomers, right? Who smoked pot their whole high school life
Yeah.
and now are, standing out on the street with a fist and their welfare and saying, Elon Musk is a bad guy.
Yeah.
What's so funny, that's a 180. Their whole lives was anti-government,
Right.
right? Protesting the war, and now they're the biggest government
Yeah.
lackeys in the history of the world.
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't understand. I don't, for me, it's really hard to comprehend that how blatant, the 180 is with
Yeah.
their fight the resist and all this stuff with the government. And then now I don't get it. It's
No, I don't
almost
get it either.
common sense disconnect, with the judges, these circuit judges that
Yeah.
are blocking. I mean, is there anybody in the whole country who's upset about taking illegal gang people out of the country?
No, not one normal person in the country is upset about removing illegal alien gang members who murder and rape people.
Yeah,
It's only a political ploy. It's ridiculous. And you make yourself sound like a complete moron if that's your position,
yeah.
right?
And then the whole Doge, finding corruption and waste and fraud, and if they're able to save us trillions of dollars,
So we don't have to pay taxes,
we might
right? The
not.
practical application is we might not have to pay taxes.
If you get rid of income tax, I mean, just think of how huge that would be for each individual.
It almost would double the amount of money that you have available to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. So I don't get where, they're saying you're cutting and slashing these government jobs and these people now are all it's just this propaganda they're just clinging to. And to me, as a Gen Xer, I just take a step back and go, well, wait a minute. They're posting all of the fraud that they're catching,
Yeah.
money they're saving. Our government clearly has been very inefficient in running without any
That's a
oversight.
nice way of saying it's all scam, right? It's
Yeah,
been a scam for who knows how long. It's just that, what did I read today? The Doge uncovered like, oh, they were paying, 1 million illegal aliens Social Security, right? They didn't pay into it ever, and they're taking money. Meanwhile, you and I will struggle to get our checks for $1,800 a month when we retire.
right.
But let's just hand it out to people who never worked a day.
Yeah. After 50 years of
Yeah. Here's
this.
your $900 a month.
Yeah, yeah.
If you would have invested it in a normal account for all that years, everybody would be a millionaire.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's unbelievable.
was it Steve Forbes that uh, one of those business candidates wanted a flat tax and they wanted
Yeah, flat tax.
Social Security accounts where you pay
Yeah.
in, goes into your account, you've got it, it grows
Gets
over.
invested in some kind of a good fund and you rake it in when you retire.
Yeah,
Instead, nope, they just rated it and give you pennies on the dollar
yeah.
of what you put aside. It's
I
ridiculous.
10, 15, 20 years down the road, they're going to show all the amazing things that got corrected and what likely would have happened had it not been corrected.
Yeah. Let's just, can we just, everybody, like, as we would say, take a chill pill for like a year or two and let this play out
Yeah,
and you watch all the benefits of it.
yeah, yeah.
It's interesting. I was watching last night, I was watching the movie. It's from like, I don't know, probably 1980, 1979 or 80, but it's about a US battleship that goes into a time warp and goes back to December 6th, 1941, and
Yeah,
then is faced with this, should they stop the Japanese attack of Pearl Harbor? And, they're faced with all these kind of time warp situations. It's called The Final Countdown. Kirk Douglas is in it.
yeah.
Emilio Estevez's dad. I can't think of his name. That's all I can think of. He's a
Mark,
very small man, by the way. I mean, when you see him, he looks like he's about 5 feet 3 inches tall,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I think
But
it's
Martin
Sheen.
Sheen. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's his real name, right? Martin Sheen. Yeah. That he's good, and I don't know. It's not a great movie, and it's 1979 special effects, so they're not great or whatever. But it's an interesting proposition.
Yeah.
If you could stop the Japanese from attacking Pearl Harbor, should you do it? Right? What would transpire in the world from doing that, right? It would be an interesting. I like those kind of thought problems about, what
Yeah.
if somebody killed Hitler, in 1940 or whatever, how would things have gone? In fact, I don't know if you saw it, but there was something, documents released from the CIA, a story from 1955 where an agent said, yeah, Hitler was in Argentina. He had left, went to Argentina, and he was at least alive there in 1955. That was a CIA report. Now,
Really.
there's a lot of CIA reports about all sorts of crazy stuff, right? That isn't really true, but that was a report. Somebody wrote it and
Huh.
said that there was credible evidence. Is that it's so funny because that's always been a rumor,
Yeah.
right? That he was in Argentina, or something. They made a movie called The Boys from Brazil where they had cloned him, like 90 times and then spread the kids out all over the world and were killing their fathers so that they would have the same experience that Hitler. I mean, it's just like,
Crazy.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, but it's
No.
like, I wouldn't, it's what we know now. It's not beyond the realm of possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. The way the governments, if he did slip away, they would cover it up because they wouldn't want panic to.
No, of course
Uh,
not. Right.
yeah.
His nickname was El Jefe.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's just nuts thinking about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so maybe we got a bunch of teenagers hooked on the show. Let's just hope, right? Like they might
Well,
learn something, Brady. All this history we're talking about. Hitler's still alive. I can't wait till they go and tell their teacher that tomorrow. Hey, these two guys that I was watching
right.
said that Hitler was in Argentina.
Yeah. Maybe maybe he's 150 and collecting Social
Yeah,
Security.
he's getting Elon Musk looked it up. He's collecting Social Security from the US government. Has been for
Yeah.
75 years. You know what's funny though? So that movie, Final Countdown, it's made in, let's say it's made in 1979, right? So it's 34 years after the end of World War II. How many years have passed since 1979? 46.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
so much further,
Yeah.
right, advanced now than that movie was separated from World War II. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'll tell people it's like you look at a movie. I was looking at a movie the other night too. It was made in 1991 or 92. So I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, that's like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
like, nope, it's 34 years ago.
Yeah.
And in 1990, a 34-year-old movie was in black and white. It's like,
Yeah. It's
uh,
it's
that's
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
I can't comprehend stuff like that. Hey, I got three questions for you, Brady.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put up the appropriate logo here for this segment so that nobody gets lost. All right, I got some good ones for you. What is your, and there's a tie-in to something I'm going to talk about later.
Okay.
and I'm going to whisper it in my NPR slash uh, Augusta National Masters Tournament voice. What is your favorite book from your childhood?
Oh goodness. Oh man. It's favorite book. Boy.
If you're Jerry Seinfeld, you say comic book or I read. Comic books don't count. Oh, well, then no.
Yeah, geez. Well, gosh. Oh man. It's tough because I wasn't a reader, so I wasn't spending a lot of time reading as a child, which I probably should have been.
It
Yeah.
explains a lot.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh
I'm
man.
just kidding.
So no, favorite book. Um, you know, I did get a book that I liked that was a classics, and so I had Mark Twain. I had all the Huckleberry Finn and those. I remember reading those and liking it. I remember my dad used to read Uncle Wiggily, which
Hmm.
now is probably not cultural appropriate.
Yeah.
They may have even banned some of
Well,
those
they've
because
tried to cancel Huckleberry Finn
yeah, yeah,
multiple times. They've never succeeded, and I hope they never do succeed. It's like you can't
yeah,
rewrite history.
yeah. It's just
So,
funny how those old books are. It I don't know. As a kid, I enjoyed them, but they were like they didn't pull any punches.
no.
Like the fox would eat the rabbit's ears, and it
Yeah, that's
was
right.
like, it was
They
like
didn't sit down and have dinner together. It's like this is real world stuff. And all those Aesop's fables and stuff, like I think we mentioned it before. It's like, yeah, the kid did something wrong and they cut his hands off and or the fox eats the grandma. Or I mean, it's like
yeah,
these were cautionary tales. This is what we grew up with, right? None of this soft pedaled crap.
yeah, yeah. But I'd say Uncle Wiggily is probably my favorite because, and those older ones. But that does tie in with the schools and how they're just not doing the kids are reading garbage and they're not doing the classics anymore.
No,
And
you got to get challenged by books like that, right? Like it's important to have ideas challenged and be able to defend it or not, right? Like we don't have that ability anymore because we've shielded everybody from opinions that we didn't like or whatever. It's like you got to hear opinions that you don't like,
right,
right?
right,
That's the whole point. It's not free speech if you only hear what you want to hear. This
right.
is this is a lost concept, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because like in high school, I read a couple books that I really, really liked. One was Alive, the story of the rugby team that ate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the only book in the history of my life that I read in one shot. I sat down like on a Saturday and read the whole, and I'm not a fast reader.
Yeah.
And I read the whole thing. I could not put it down. It was amazing. They made a movie about it. They made a couple movies about it, actually. Um, there's a American version, which is called Alive, and there's a Spanish version, which is called the something of the snow. I forget. It's just pretty recent on Netflix.
Hmm.
The Society of the Snow or something.
Huh.
Both of them are amazing. It's an incredible story. The other one, this won't surprise anybody, considering conspiracy theories and everything. It was called the Lincoln Conspiracy.
Hmm.
And I don't know when it was written, but it's specifically about the fact that it wasn't just Lee Harvey Oswald, not Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm thinking Kennedy.
Booth.
It wasn't James Wilkes Booth. Notice how these assassins always have three names for
Yeah.
whatever reason. It's like if
Huh.
anybody calls you with three names, that's not a good thing. Um, the John Wilkes Booth was part of a conspiracy from Southern Democrats to get rid of Lincoln, and he was paid to do that and was supported by them, and it was actually an attempt to take. Most people don't realize this. Multiple government people were attacked that night,
Hmm.
including the Department of War guy was stabbed, and there was a plan to go after the vice president too. And that something the guy chickened out or whatever, but it was like an attempt to take out the Northern government.
Really?
And just weeks after the end of the Civil War.
Huh.
Fascinating book. They have made some movies that sort of talk about that, the conspiracy around that.
Yeah.
That was another favorite book. But when I was a little kid, I loved Trumpet of the Swans by E.B. White. He's the guy who wrote Charlotte's Web. I loved Trumpet of the Swans. I loved books where animals talked.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but I always had an affinity for movies and books and whatever else where animals could talk.
Uh-huh.
Like we said, Scooby Doo's my favorite. It's a talking dog. Like
Yeah.
what's not to like, right? And
Yeah.
everybody treats it. This is what's great about it. Everybody treats it like it's normal that the dog can talk,
Yeah.
right? And Trumpet of the Swans, like nobody, the main character doesn't like question that this trumpeter swan can use a chalkboard and write.
Yeah.
That's how that's the story, right? It's just it's a great story. It's like a 10-year-old kid befriends a swan that can't talk, so it writes on a chalkboard.
Hmm.
Just that was the kind of stuff I liked. All right, second one. Did your school have a jungle gym
Let's
like your
see.
elementary school?
Elementary. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, you know what? I don't think we did, which is odd. Middle school didn't. I know our high school didn't. Uh, gosh, no, I went to, no, we didn't. We didn't. It was odd.
So, and I think that's where like these bad things started to happen for the later Gen Xers, right? Where they took them all down.
Hmm.
Because I had one in elementary school until like fourth grade, and then one day we came to school and it was gone.
Huh.
And it was like, what happened to the jungle gym? And for those of you who don't know what a jungle gym is, it's like a metal ladder tower that's like 25 stories tall. And it's like it's mounted over concrete. What could go wrong? Right? But it was the greatest thing ever. You'd play on it and swing and hang upside down. The best thing is like, you hook your knees around it and then you hang upside down. This is what
Yeah.
people did. This is what we did at lunch, like every day.
Yeah.
But the rumor was, some kid fell off and is paralyzed or died or something, so they got to take him down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to grow up at least the first 4 years of school with a jungle gym. And maybe even my fifth and sixth grade school still hadn't taken theirs out. We had swings and all the other stuff. I think a lot of schools even took swings out, right? They just, everything was a lawsuit. And so, oh, here's a big concrete lot with a four square thing drawn on it. You can play with those purple rubber balls, and that was it, right? It's like, and
Yeah.
now like my son told me like at his elementary school when he was there, like they had like 5 minutes of recess,
Oh,
right?
gee.
It's like eat your meal and play all in like 15 minutes.
Yeah. 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 They don't give them much
No, it's
time at
ridiculous.
all.
I
Even the,
felt like we had like an hour, right?
they,
And I would eat my Scooby-Doo lunchbox Fritos
yeah.
uh and apple juice and be done in like 2 minutes and then be outside for like 55 minutes playing, working
Yeah.
up a sweat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's my last question. What did you do at recess when you were like in elementary school? Do you remember?
Yes, we had, so where I went to school in Michigan, during when the weather was nice, at least we'd go outside and we played soccer. We made these goals with like, you use two backpacks, uh, 10 feet apart, whatever,
Right.
and
Yep.
the teams, and you just play soccer and run. And we did that quite a bit. Played kickball, and there was a lot of running and activities and things that we would do. In the wintertime, you'd go build snowman or the bully would push the little kids around. No.
We even had, even at my elementary school, this is Minnesota for you. At my elementary school, we had a hockey rink,
Wow.
right? Like this crappy old school, but we had a hockey rink. So they would flood it in the winter, and sometimes we'd have to go out and shovel it, right?
Yeah.
But we would bring our hockey sticks and a puck and play hockey
Yeah.
at lunch. And then sometimes after school, we just stay around and play hockey.
Yeah.
Like that's just like
That-
that's a Minnesota thing for sure. Maybe Upper Peninsula folks
Yeah.
did that. I don't know
Yeah.
if there was a lot of people playing hockey in Detroit.
Oh, yeah, right.
Maybe. I
Well,
don't know.
actually, my dad actually flooded the backyard one of my.
Yeah, that's what we did, right? It's like it's a crazy thing. Or you in Minnesota, like everybody lived next to a pond or a swamp or a lake, right? So you just go shovel off the lake and play hockey, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just such a it's such a people in the South just have no. I mean, I remember in college when I was in Minnesota and in the winter we went to drive the car out onto the lake, right? And the guy was from South Carolina. There's no way you're not allowed to drive on a lake. That's not possible. How will it support your car? He had no concept that that could even happen. And then we're like, look, there's like 100 cars with fish houses on the lake. It just
Yeah.
like completely blew his mind that that was something that people could do or did do.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
I think going back to the recess though, I think our generation of exercise and
yeah,
activity, all of that is probably going a long way compared to the kids now that are just eating and sitting on
yeah.
staring at their you know
Did
all
you work for, remember the presidential fitness badges? Did you have that where you were? Because we had that when I was in elementary school. You had to do
I,
like
I
6 different events and then you had to score. Like this is, I mean, it's just such a foreign concept for people today. You had to run a 50-yard dash in this time to get a presidential badge. And then there was like a second badge and then a third badge, right? So if you met the standard for all of these things, you would get the presidential badge of fitness and you could sew it on to your jacket or something, right? And it was like 50-yard dash. It was like a broad jump, maybe a long jump, pull-ups. You had to do like 20 pull-ups in a minute. You had to do like 20 sit-ups in a minute.
yeah
You know, and then it went away. But I just heard the other day somebody said we need to bring it back, right? We
yeah
need to that needs to come back.
yeah I,
There has
I
to
re-
be something.
yeah, for grade you had to have so many
Yeah.
pulls per grade. They had the rope where you had to climb the
Yeah, you
hill.
had to climb a rope all the way to the top.
Yeah, and yeah, I remember that. That was big. It was a little stressful to get as
Yeah,
many.
that's the thing, it's like, and then people say, oh, well, it punishes the kids who aren't athletic or whatever. And it's like, well, yes, it doesn't mean we should lower the standard.
Right.
They also could win badges in music or, playing an instrument or something that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
Right. So should we dumb down, oh, if you could play Ode to Joy on your recorder, you know, it's like, what if I can't? What if I'm not musical and I don't know how to? Well, then let's not have music programs anymore because some kids aren't musical, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
dumb.
yeah, it is.
All right, what do you got for me, Brady?
Well, I was thinking, my mind kind of went all over the map. So I was thinking, if you had to choose between living in either China or Russia, which country would you pick? And would it be different than when you were a young boy versus now?
Yes, it would be different. And the reason it would be different is because, of course, Russia was like the evil empire when we were kids, right?
Right.
And the more I think about it, it's like, why? They were
Yeah.
our allies in World War II.
Yeah.
They helped us defeat socialism or Nazism, right? Um, why did that go south, right? Like, I don't know. But today, like I saw a video the other day, they said this is uh, Moscow, like a neighborhood or a park on a Saturday afternoon, evening. And it looked perfectly lovely.
Hmm.
People walking around, nobody seemed, they weren't being bothered by protesters or anything. They were having a good time. It was relatively nice and kept up, and everybody seemed to be having a good time and stuff. And it's like, uh, I'd rather live in Russia now than China,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At least in Russia, you have some rights. I think in China, it's people still just disappear, right?
Right.
Like it's like they just, and if you don't tote the line, you don't exist anymore. Social scores and all that other stuff. It's like a little scary.
Yeah. I agree.
Um,
I
and
agree.
back in the day, I don't think we'd want to live in either. The funny thing is, when I was a kid, China was kind of a non-entity,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because for me, especially, because Nixon is the one who kind of reopened up communication with China in what, 70, 71, whatever it was, right? I was
Mhm.
a young kid. Um, so even then, nobody was really talking about China at all. But of course, Russia was evil and was going to bomb us tomorrow,
Right. Yeah.
every day on the news, literally every day.
Yeah.
Russian tanks are rolling into Eastern Europe and their ICBMs are pointed at your town, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's like, come on. They're
Yeah.
not bombing Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's like, well, there's a Hormel factory there that makes hot dogs that feed the troops.
Yeah.
It was like, sheesh. But, in hindsight now, too, it's like the scare tactics. It's
Yeah.
always with the scare tactics,
Right.
constant. There has to be a boogeyman everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just don't give into it anymore, right? Nope, you can't scare me with anything.
Yeah. No, well, that's the second question. Actually, you kind of tapped into it a little bit. I was thinking about this whole Snow White with the Disney and how the princess derailed that movie from.
Yeah.
But what would you say is the worst Disney, not including that, worst Disney movie you've ever seen?
The second newest Star Wars movie,
The second newest Star Wars?
whatever that, the not the first one of the last three, the second one of the last three. I don't even know what the name of it is. It's a
Yeah.
terrible movie.
Okay.
In fact, the last two were terrible movies.
Yeah.
It makes me not even want to watch Star Wars anymore. That's the sad part about it. It's like you so destroyed the story and everything about it and introduced dumb characters that you didn't care about. And it's like you just ruined the franchise.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks, Disney. How many other franchises are you going to ruin?
Yeah.
Right? Pretty
Yeah.
much destroyed all of the old ones that everybody liked. Which one's next? It's
Yeah.
frustrating. But
That's
that was a pile of steaming crap. That second Star Wars movie.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. And then the other last one was just what was your favorite board game that you play as a family? Did you guys have one as a family that you play?
Yeah, I mean, we played lots of board games. My mom liked Scrabble. I didn't like it that much, but we played it. I liked Monopoly. Um, we like to play Monopoly. We like the card game. There was a card game called Rook. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it was a card game.
Yeah.
Um, we played that quite often.
Yeah.
Uh, that was fun. I had this fun game when I was a kid called Tank Battle. It was
Huh.
kind of like chess, but with tanks and guns and stuff, which is fitting for the time. I was just telling my son the other night, every movie when I was a kid was some kind of disaster or war movie. Like I
Yeah,
rewatched The Poseidon Adventure just the other day. That was in 1972. Gene Hackman. The guy's, I mean, he's been in every movie since 1965 until like 2 years ago. Like literally every movie, Gene
yeah,
Hackman.
he's
Shelley Winters is in that. And I remember thinking, oh, she's such an old fat lady. She was 52. Yeah, she was younger than me.
yeah,
It's like, oh my gosh. And Ernest Borgnine's in it. He was probably like 53 or something. And these people look so old. And they're
yeah,
like younger than me. It's like, oh my gosh, it's scary. So yeah, that's but it's fun watching those. And there was Earthquake, there was Towering Inferno, it was just like there was Meteor, Poseidon Adventure. It's like Jaws, every movie was some kind of a disaster movie,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it toughened us up,
yeah,
right? It really did. It's like, who cares, what's
yeah.
going to happen. Hey, I got to do some self promotion here, Brady. Well, it's a little bit of promotion for the show too.
Good.
Um, this award-winning book launched this week. I've been talking about it for I don't know a month or so now. This is the book I wrote. It's called Hindsight: A Gen X Life. It's not the complete story of my life. Like I say in the prologue to it, that would be boring. It would be a lot of me watching TV and staring at my lawn. If it was the actual story of my entire life. It's four stories from different parts of my life when I was 10, when I was 17, when I was 34, and like the last 15 years of being a parent. And my point is that when you're a little kid, when you're 10, a day seems to last forever,
Right.
right? And when you're in high school, maybe a week is
Yeah,
a long time.
yeah,
And when you're 34, 35 years old, you view the world in like years. Oh, I remember what happened that year. And when you're a parent and you're middle aged and everything else, it's like decades, right? It's like, oh, right, the last 10, 15 years. It's all just one thing. And it's because time moves more quickly the older you get. When you're 10, that one day is a huge part of your life.
yeah,
When you're in your 50s, like 10 years is like the same. It just goes by like that and you don't even know. So, uh everyone is required to purchase this book on Amazon. It's going to be on Google too, by the way. I'm working on that as well. But what's great about it is, Brady, you can get the paperback version, you can get a hardcover version so that you can show it off on your coffee table,
there you
right?
go.
But for those people who are don't like books because you have to carry them with you everywhere you go, you can get the Kindle version. You can have it on your phone. You can read it while you're on the bus or whatever. And if you have a long commute to work every day, you can get the Audible version as well. It's like this computerized voice that sounds totally real. It's pretty amazing. And you
Cool.
can listen to the whole book, right?
Yeah.
And you could probably listen to it in a week of your commute. What I'll say is it's like this show, but it's a little bit more personal. It's there are things in it that if you're a Gen X person, you're going to relate to it. You're going to laugh. You're going to go, I remember digital watches. You're going to like, there's stuff like that you will relate to. Maybe some of the stories you even heard on the show. And then there's going to be some moments where it might be a little sad. It might be a little emotional as well. I try to keep kind of playing with your emotions throughout the story of the book. It intermixes four separate timelines. It's about 300 pages, the paperback version. You can listen to it on Audible in probably 5.5 hours, I think. So it's a decent amount. Just go to Amazon. You can type my name in. You can type the name of the book in, Hindsight, A Gen X Life. It's right there. All of the formats are there. I think you will enjoy it, and I am anxious to hear people's feedback from it. A friend of mine today got the first copy ordered from Amazon. He took a picture of it. He's got the physical book. and he
Cool.
can't wait to read it. So I know you're going to buy several copies, right, Brady, and read it and comment on the show.
Saving up. Yeah,
And I
definitely.
won't even tell people like which one I get the best royalties from, right? Because actually, the more you spend, the less royalties I get. The hardcover and the paperback, I actually make less on. And just so people know, and I know this from a guy, a friend of mine who made CDs. He was an incredible piano player. He made CDs. They sold on Amazon for $13. He made like $1. And
Ah,
that's about the same way it is with the books. If you
yeah,
buy like a $13 book, I make $1 or two. If you buy the audio version, I make like $2 because they don't have to do anything. They don't have to
yeah.
send anything to you. They just say, "Oh, okay, here you go."
No.
And it's the same with the Kindle book too. You actually do better on those.
Okay.
Um, so that's my pitch.
Good.
Hindsight, a Gen X life. I think you will enjoy it, and we will talk about it on future shows. And
Let's.
that's it for our show. I want to wrap it up. Producer just tapped me on the shoulder and said it's time for dinner.
That's right.
So, just a reminder, hit subscribe and like. You can watch us on YouTube or Spotify. You can see us on X, formerly Twitter, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. And by the way, we are also on Audible. So if you have a subscription to Audible, this show is on Audible as well. That's where you can get the book. And starting this week, we are on UHF Channel 75 in Bentonville, Arkansas,
All right.
northwest corner of Arkansas. So, Bentonville, folks, UHF, turn that dial on your TV to UHF Channel 75. And so, for Brady and myself, we thank you for tuning in again here on the Gen X Rewind. We want you to have fun, but we need you to be home before the streetlights come on. Isn't that right, Brady?
Right. Yeah. Have a good week.
All right. We'll see you, Brady.
All right. See you. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Bye bye.